Exactly what happens to us when we die remains as much of a mystery today as it did when our ancestors first walked the earth hundreds of thousands of years ago. But what if it were possible to find all the answers by simply asking someone who has already passed on? In this episode, we take a look at the strange and controversial world of spirit telephones, devices that could, according to their inventors, enable two-way communication with the dead. The idea of building a modern technological solution to communicating with spirits first arose during the 19th and early 20th centuries, a period during which spiritualism was very much on the rise, and an increasing number of people were looking for some sort of sign that contact with the spirits of their lost loved ones was possible. Many who had lost close family members sought the services of spiritualist mediums, and participated in seances that would see tables being levitated, mysterious knocking sounds being heard, and the appearance of full-body apparitions, effects often achieved through fraudulent means, but that were nonetheless highly popular at the time. Later, with the invention and widespread adoption of the camera, spirit photography also became popular, with photographers such as William H. Mumler, Frederick Hudson, and William Hope producing pictures of alleged spirits, often with the client sitting in the foreground and the ghost of their deceased relative standing behind them. Predictably though, many of these images would later be exposed as forgeries created using double exposures and other similar techniques. But it was the work of one man in particular who would bring the idea of building a two-way communication device to talk to spirits into the public's imagination. This man was Thomas Edison. Edison himself needs no introduction. One of the most celebrated inventors in history, he developed many things that we now take for granted. But there was one invention that he claimed to have been working on that he would have likely preferred that everyone had forgotten about: the spirit phone. Rumours of this device began to circulate in earnest in 1920, after Edison told the American magazine in an interview that he had for some time been, and in his own words, building an apparatus to see if it is possible for personalities which have left this earth to communicate with us. He went on to add that the device would not use any occult, mystifying, mysterious or weird means, nor would it employ any so-called mediums. He told the magazine, "I am engaged in the construction of one such apparatus now, and I hope to be able to finish it before very many months pass." Suffice to say, Edison never actually revealed his spirit phone, and the media's reaction to his statements likely discouraged any further talk of it. That would seem to have been the end of the matter, but then in 2015, a French journalist discovered a rare copy of Edison's diary in France, which happened to contain his detailed thoughts on the spirit world and the possibility of establishing contact with the dead. While this put to bed the idea that the spirit phone had been a hoax or a joke, we still don't really know if Edison had ever actually built a prototype or had tried to use it to talk to spirits. Around 6 decades after Edison spoke about his spirit phone, another attempt was made to build a device capable of communicating with the dead. Known as Spiricom, the device was, according to its inventors, capable of holding a sustained two-way conversation with a spirit in a way not dissimilar to using a regular telephone. Described in its official manual as an electromagnetic etheric systems approach to communications with other levels of human consciousness, Spiricom was researched and developed over the course of more than 10 years in conjunction with the Meta Science Foundation at Franklin, North Carolina, by a team including retired industrialist George Meek and inventor William O'Neill. The device was particularly controversial because it reportedly needed a person with mediumistic abilities, such as O'Neill himself, in order to function. At a press conference in Washington, D.C. in 1982, the team revealed that they had been successful in communicating for many hours of sustained conversation with George Jeffreys Mueller, an American scientist who had died of a heart attack 14 years earlier and whose input from beyond the grave was even credited as having been instrumental in the development of the project itself. Surprisingly, no patent rights were ever filed for the device, and the team was actually quite keen to encourage other researchers to further develop their idea and to build their own versions. Ultimately, though, nobody else was ever actually able to reproduce the apparent success that Meek and O'Neill alleged to have had with it. This was, according to Meek, most likely due to the fact that O'Neill's psychic abilities were crucial to its functionality. To this day, Spiricom remains a controversial topic. Some believe that the device genuinely worked, while others are adamant that it was all a hoax. Either way, it was certainly intriguing. Another device that was built with the intention of communicating with the dead was the Ghost Box, otherwise known as Frank's Box. It was designed and built back in 2002 by Frank Sumption of Colorado, an inventor who had a keen interest in electronic voice phenomena. The device worked by sweeping rapidly back and forth through various radio bands and recording the output. A recording from the device would typically consist of tiny snippets of various radio broadcasts and white noise, which, according to Sumption, contained the voices of the dead. At the time, his Ghost Box caused quite a stir in the paranormal community, with many people championing it as the real deal and others dismissing it as nonsense. Some argued that the audio it produced was meaningless and that any resemblance to a voice was mere audio pareidolia, the brain's innate ability to pick out meaningful sounds in abstract background noise. It was certainly true that the recordings were highly subjective. Sumption would argue that the messages received through the device were intended only for the user, meaning that other people listening to the recordings were unlikely to hear the same thing, or even anything at all. This made it impossible to objectively validate that the device actually worked, or that the recordings contained the voices of spirits. Frank Sumption reportedly created around 180 such devices and distributed them to a few select people. There were also several attempts by others to create their own versions. Sadly, he passed away after suffering a heart attack in 2014, taking the secrets of his invention with him to the grave. While none of the spirit telephones we've talked about in this video ended up changing the world, and a device genuinely capable of enabling reliable two-way communication with the dead remains elusive, inventions such as Spiricom and Frank's Box nonetheless helped to inspire whole new generations of ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts. Today, paranormal investigators employ an increasingly elaborate array of gadgets designed to capture verifiable evidence of ghosts, from digital voice recorders and infrared cameras to electromagnetic field detectors and temperature sensors. There are even those who have developed their own modern equivalents of these early spirit telephones, in the hope of finding a way to not only make communication with the dead possible, but even routine. Whether such a device is even possible at all, however, remains to be seen. Do you think it will ever be possible to create a working spirit telephone? Let us know in the comments below. If you'd like to support this channel, thank you. There's a link to our Patreon in the description below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell icon to be notified when we upload new videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.